You're listening to Real Conversations, where every week we take a peek at the favorite movies of fascinating people. Real Conversations is hosted by Bryan, the founder of Art Within and Real. Today, Bryan sits down with Fran LaMattina. Fran is the president of Strategies for Greatness, a consultative coaching practice that helps leaders and teams become more effective. Fran has been coaching for almost 20 years and is presently enrolled in a PhD program in professional coaching and human development.
Okay, so I'm so happy to have my friend Fran LaMattina in the Real Studios today. Fran, thanks for being with us.
You are so welcome. I love being with you.
Well, I want to get straight into your top 10 because I love you and I love your top 10. So tell folks what's on your top 10.
Yes, I'm looking at my top 10 and I'm saying I'm going to date myself a little bit, but here we go anyway because it is me. Sound of Music was my first, and then the others all kind of follow with that. I've got Tom Hanks in Big. I've got Gone with the Wind, which I loved after I moved from New York to Atlanta.
Yeah, this is kind of odd of you, you know.
Yes, well,
Yankee.
I had to kind of get in the groove. And then we have Father of the Bride, the one with Steve Martin, and Tootsie. I love Dustin Hoffman all along.
Yeah.
You've Got Mail, which to me was when Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan were kind of at their best.
Yeah, that relationship.
Yes. Yeah. As Good as It Gets with wait a minute, Jack Nicholson, of course, which is just a funny movie, and Wizard of Oz, which I watch every year. Funny Girl, Barbara at Her Best, and Casablanca.
Yeah. So it really is kind of a dip into a lot of nostalgic films as well as some contemporary films too. Which one would you never take off of your top 10?
Oh, it would have to be Sound of Music.
Yeah, and I know that's because you've come and done our Real Character Day, and you identify with Maria.
I do.
Explain that connection.
Well, first of all, you
were a nun, right?
I am a New York Italian girl, and most New York Italian girls grow up Catholic. So that was where I started in relating to that, and Maria just was full of life and didn't accept life the way it was, and always wanted more, and just went through life with gusto. And I like to think that I do that most of the time, probably not as much as I would like, but frequently.
Yeah, I like what you said. Let me see if I can get it right, what you said. She doesn't accept life for just what it is, or something like that, is what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell me about that, because I know you, and I know that is something that you're constantly into, seeing people grow and you growing, and so I see that aspect of you. But what else would you say? Like, where did that come from, and how has that affected your life, would you say?
Well, back to my roots of the New York Italian girl. I grew up, my dad was one of 10, my mother was one of 7, and I grew up with all of these cousins and family around, and kind of a middle-class family who all loved each other, but nobody who really had a lot of ambition. And for whatever reason, God built me with a lot of ambition and a lot of insight, not insight, but a lot of vision.
Yeah, He gave you a lot of insight.
No, a lot of sight for what how life could be more. And I think from early childhood, I was always a reader. I was always a person that tried to excel at everything I did, and that was just my way of life. And I always say that nobody could disappoint me as much as I've disappointed myself, because I'm very aware of the things I haven't accomplished. But I think God's been very gracious to me, and I think He's taken this person who could have been, just kind of a run-of-the-mill person. And for me, my life is so much more rich with the people around me and the God who guides me. And, growing up in a Catholic environment for me, it was very constraining, and becoming a a full-fledged believer, was, we say at North Point, having a faith of my own.
Yeah.
Just is a different kind of life. And
so it almost was Maria kind of stepping out of that nunnery, per se, and embracing the world, you know, and embracing sort of a bigger picture of where faith could be out in the world as well, you know, and her life could be out in the world versus just confined to Catholicism, let's say. It sounds like in your life.
Well, and I think, you know, she never expected herself to be married to Captain Von Trapp and have all those children. And, you know, my life is different because I'm single and I've always had a wonderful career and wonderful influence with people and have had lots of people who have influenced me. But I remember 27 years old feeling like I had achieved more than I had vision for when I was a child, and I had to kind of redefine myself at 27. And God has just given me opportunity after opportunity to redefine myself, and I think that's kind of what Maria did.
Yeah, and I can also see it with Dorothy sitting on that haystack singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, right?
Yes.
That more sense of more that's out there that she ultimately gets to experience, you know, in Oz. So tell me about some of the other films. You know, because you've got such an eclectic group here, let's walk through a few of them and just say why they're on your list. So Big, let's start with Big. You got 2 Tom Hanks films, so I obviously see that you like Tom Hanks.
Person, for sure.
But why that film?
I like the roles he plays, not necessarily other things. But, you know, I just, he makes me laugh. I love to laugh, and a lot of these comedies, that I have here are comedies. You know, Big was just so funny, and he was experiencing life, you know, outside, an out-of-body experience, so to speak, but he experienced life in a different realm than he thought, you know.
And that's interesting. I see that, you know, with Wizard of Oz, where she experienced life in a different realm, right? Yeah. You see it in Tootsie, where he experiences life in a different realm as a woman, right? Right. And even in You Got Mail, you see these people experiencing life through the internet, you know, through this personas that they've built on the internet. I don't know if I see it in some of the other ones, but like
in Funny Girl, you know, I don't think that, you know, she ever thought she'd leave whatever street it was in Brooklyn, I think, that she grew up in, and you know, achieve, you know, being a Ziegfeld girl, and you know, of course, you got Barbara with all of her talent, and it was a funny movie, and yet it was a sad movie. It represented life to me.
Yeah. What about that concept? I imagine this is kind of new to see it in your films of having to experience life in a different realm. What do you think of that? Is that something that you've experienced in your life? Is that something you long for? How does that intersect with your life?
You know, I often ask people about where they are in their organization skills as a leadership coach. I ask them, are you the kind of person that begins with the end in mind and works backward, where you look into the future, or are you a person who's in the present, where you do the next right thing, the next right thing, the next right thing? I think I grew up doing the next right thing, and I think I've learned to be a futurist and begin with the end in mind, although the ends in mind have changed over time. Yeah. You know, I've gotten to one place and the next place or whatever. And I've never thought my life would be what it is. And I have a wonderful life. And, you know, some people look at me and they say, you're single and you've been single all your life, and you know, that doesn't sound like a wonderful life to me, but it's been a wonderful life for me. God's just given me so many opportunities. So I think when I grew up in New York, where, you know, New Yorkers have kind of a world of their own, you know, and I went to graduate school for business, and then I remember that on the front page of Time magazine at that time, it said Atlanta was the place for young, upcoming professionals. Yeah. And at that time in my life, that was who I saw myself as. Yeah. and I moved down here, and
it was a different realm for sure.
It was a different realm coming from there, going from the Northeast to the Midwest and then to the Southeast. It was very different, but it was great. And it, after I was here for 5 years, my whole family moved down from New York to Atlanta.
Wow.
And it's been wonderful to be in this environment in Atlanta, and especially at the environment at North Point Church, and where life is just different than I would have ever imagined it to be.
So how did you go from New York gal to embracing Gone with the Wind? Where was that in that journey? Was it after you'd moved to Atlanta, or did you kind of have a curiosity about the South before that, or what was it?
That's a great question, and I'm not sure I know a definitive answer. I think.
Do you remember seeing it, like when you saw it?
I don't. That's why I'm saying. I think it just gave me context for the way Southerners kind of think a little bit.
Yeah, that's good, especially in your job. You had to really kind of understand the environment.
So I don't know if it was a before or after, but I know it was just, okay, that's why they call me a Yankee, and that's why some people may not like me, and some
Yankees
people
in Georgia.
Yeah, some people, I may walk in the room and they may say, she's not one of us. She's not one of my people, and just kind of gave me context.
But you liked it so much to put it on your top 10.
Right.
So what do you think?
I think what I liked about it was it helped me have a visual of history in this place that I live.
Okay, good. Yeah. So you've spoken a couple of times now about, embracing singlehood. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of your films, love is something that these characters find. They weren't looking for it. Maria wasn't really necessarily looking. She was going to be a nun, right?
Right.
And a lot of these characters, actually, the people that they fall in love with are people that were their enemy at the beginning of the movie. And it's just unlikely situations where, but a lot of them were chasing after their career, and more than likely they were just doing their job and chasing after their career, whether it's the gal in You've Got Mail or Dustin Hoffman and Tootsie, and Funny Girl, probably, yeah. So walk us through how you've embraced your singlehood and how maybe love has surprised you along the way coming through different sources.
Right.
And maybe, that concept of you've probably been after your career and love has kind of hit you in different ways as a single person. And I'm not necessarily talking about romantic love. I'm talking about love itself,
Well, I became a committed believer at 27. So I think that at that point in time, God, I don't mean to sound kind of cliche, but God just started filling my heart with love that I didn't have before. Mm. And then I think, throughout my life, life has gotten sweeter and sweeter to me. Mm-hmm, people have become I've had so many kind people who invested so much in my life to me. Mm-hmm. It may not have been a romantic relationship, but it was some bosses that I had, some peers that I had, my family. I'm very close to my family. I live with my sister, as many people know, and
she's awesome.
We have fun, and I think some of the aspect of all of this is, she just lives to laugh, and I love that about her. Yeah. And a lot of these movies are comedies because life is a comedy in many ways. Yeah. But anyway, I think that I really have had more and more people in my life who have just enriched my life in so many ways.
It's a criticism I've heard a lot from single folks that the church is kind of built around structures that reinforce marriage, reinforce two people and that kind of thing.
I have never experienced. I shouldn't say never. I have seldom experienced anything like that.
That's great.
I feel like, I'm an intentional person. So if I feel any kind of, being on the sidelines or whatever, I immediately pray and think and charge into whatever I need. So, that's just the way.
So you're not going to sit there and pine about it. You're going to go right into it.
But I will say this. I have never been a person who's just hung out with single people. I have had so many married friends all my life who have just never not included me. I've